So, what was that? What actually was that? You know what's interesting? Have you heard that saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them? We might have just witnessed that because you know what? This looks very same. This looks very same as last year. This looks very same. Same issues, same undiscipline. Receivers still can't catch the ball. Offensive line, whatever. They're a little better, but whatever. We still are deciding not to run the ball. It looks very same. It looks very same. And for those of you that want to convince yourself that what you saw wasn't that bad because in the second half, the defense didn't give up any points, you're not paying attention to what's going on. You're trying to make this okay, even though it's not okay. What you saw is after halftime, Nebraska knew they were better than Colorado, and Nebraska knew that Colorado was not going to score. So what Nebraska decided was, we're just going to protect the lead. We're going to protect the lead. And if we protect the lead, we can change the way we're playing defense. We can also change the way that we're playing calls or calling plays on offense, and we can change things. What you saw was a Nebraska team who didn't believe that Colorado was very good. Nebraska told you they did not think Colorado could compete with them. That's what you saw in the second half. Nebraska didn't even score in the second half. You want to know why? Because they didn't need to score in the second half. It was 28-0. It was 28-0. That game was a blowout. No way, shape, or form did Colorado stand a chance to get back into that game, and Nebraska knew that. So because they knew that, they started changing some things that they were doing on offense. So if you're actually going to sit there and believe that the good thing coming out of this is, well, Colorado's defense held them. They didn't score in the second half. You know why Nebraska didn't score in the second half? They didn't need to. The game wasn't close. It was a blowout. So we have to stop trying to make all of these things sound good and be positive. Colorado has shown us who they are. We just don't want to believe them. For some reason, we have decided we don't want to believe them. For some reason, we will watch football all day and we will see teams running the ball. We will see them running a balanced offense, but we have convinced ourselves that Colorado doesn't need to do that because why? We have Shador? It doesn't make any sense. It actually just doesn't make any sense. The truth is, we were told Colorado has all these people coming in. They're going to be great. Here's all the reasons they're going to be great. Here's all the reasons why they're going to be good. All week, I watch people ask, why isn't anybody talking about this player? Why isn't anybody talking about that player? Why isn't anybody talking about this player? You know why they're not talking about those players? Because it didn't matter. The players didn't matter. It doesn't matter who is on your team if they know that they're going to be able to pressure you and it's going to null and void your best players. This is why teams that are built from the outside in usually are not successful, because playing wide receiver is a dependent position. If you play wide receiver, you are dependent on the offensive line, you're dependent on the quarterback to make a play. So because you have dependencies based on your position, you could be all world, but if we can't get you the ball, it doesn't matter what you are. And usually when I make these videos, I try to talk about positive things, different things like that. But you know what? I think it's time we keep it real. I think it's time we keep it real on what we're seeing. We are seeing an undisciplined football team. And you know what? They're undisciplined from the coaches down to the players. Teams take the personality of their coaches. One of Coach Prime's tenets is what? Tough, fast, discipline with character. Discipline is a part of that. You know what discipline is? Discipline is you run the ball. Discipline is a balanced offense. That is what discipline looks like. Balance. Discipline is playing the best players. Discipline is if discipline is going to be part of your part of your culture and part of your mission statement that you say, but as a coach, you're not showing that. How do you expect your players to show that? This is simple. We're playing a guy at running back that anyone you ask, even opposing teams, even the people that I know that are not cheering for this team to be successful, are asking me, why are they playing this guy when this other guy looks like he's 10 times better? And the answer to that question is, I don't know. But my point is if I'm saying that, I'm seeing that, and I have friends and family that are seeing that. What is the problem? It's not disciplined when you don't play the people that that move the needle. You can't tell me your team is this and your team is that and your team is this, and you don't do the things. You can't have a press conference before the game or a conversation before the game and say, oh, we're going to run the ball. We're going to do this. And then you don't run the ball. And then in your press conference, you tell me you didn't run the ball because your team didn't want to run the ball. What does that mean? What does it mean you didn't run the ball because your team didn't want to run the ball? Like, what are we doing? Something else that's really bothering me is you can't tell me that Travis Hunter should be on the field with Charlie Offerdahl, because those two players have different missions and those two players are very different in talent. And if Travis Hunter is on your field, you're telling me that you're there to win and you're there to do something and make an impact. But when you have Charlie on the field, he hasn't been the best option to win. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And I know when sports started, I said, I'm going to try my very hardest not to talk about players, because I am going to try. I really am trying. But the problem, it's not Charlie's fault that he's being asked to play. Because you know what? If somebody called me right now and said, hey girl, we need you to come up here and kick field goals for us and play on our team, you know what I would do? I'd go up there and kick field goals. It's not Charlie's fault. And I hate that I'm mentioning Charlie by name. But the point is, why is there not a running back in the game that can actually run the ball that we're going to call run plays for? That's undisciplined play calling. Why are we letting 10 seconds go off the clock at the end of the half when we're trying to kick a field goal? Why are we doing that? These things are undisciplined. And I want to say this, reading off another team's stat on how many penalties they had does not make the case that your penalties are okay. I don't understand what the point of that was, but that's another thing where that's very undisciplined. When you're looking at things, you need to focus on your team and what your team needs to do, and your team needs to execute. Your team didn't execute. So because your team didn't execute, you can't compare yourself to a team that did execute. It's not the same. That's a false equivalency. That was a talking point. I don't understand the point of that. It wasn't a good point, and whatever. So I hope that we don't do that anymore. For those of you that are like, Colorado shouldn't run the ball because they have Shedeur Sanders, here's the basic fundamentals of football. When you run the ball, the clock rolls, okay? Your offensive line is moving forward. You're creating a balanced offense. What I mean by that is the defense now doesn't know what you're going to do. They don't know. They think you might pass. They think you might run. They're having to use their brains a little bit more, and it keeps your team balanced. If your team is balanced, it impacts the way the defense plays against your offense. If you sit down and you watch any football almost, maybe not Pee Wee, because I haven't watched Pee Wee football in a long time, but if you watch the NFL and college football, running the ball is football. You have to run the ball. So the fact that this team has decided that they don't need to run the ball because they have Shedeur Sanders, it doesn't make any sense, and it is undisciplined football. I will not sit back and watch another year of Colorado not running the football. It is terrible to watch. It is a terrible game plan. It's actually embarrassing. And I cannot believe that we are sitting back and we're watching another time where Colorado has decided to not run the football. Because you know why? That we have options. We went to get those options. You, Coach Prime, keep saying we're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. Then tonight you say, oh, they don't want to run the ball. So what is it? What are we doing? What is the expectation? Who are we? What is the identity of this team? What is the culture of this team? I know people want to act like they don't know what culture is and culture doesn't matter, but who are we? Who are we? Who is this team? And the reason why this is not shocking me is because I had a live back after the spring game, and I told you then the spring game was troubling, and everyone wanted to act like it wasn't a big deal. We had our offensive line that was already there in the spring. The guys that were there in the spring are now on the offensive line. They've played 2 games now. We've seen them work together already in the spring game. I told you in the spring game it didn't look good, but we made excuses. It's the spring game. It's this and that. The practice that we saw, they didn't look good there either. But you know what? Whatever. They don't look good. As a team, the team has issues. The team has issues. The best players on the team don't seem to be playing. I could be wrong. And so there's bigger issues here. They're showing us who they are, and we have to choose to believe. If we don't choose to believe them, okay, fine. But they're telling us who they are. They're telling us they don't want to run the ball. They're showing us they don't want to run the ball. They're showing us we have to listen. They're telling us who they are. We just don't want to believe them because it's so obvious to us that this is not the way to win. But they're telling us who they are. They're telling us that they want to win games passing. They came out in 5 wide tonight. Against Nebraska, big, strong, fast, interior defensive line, Colorado football team came out in 5 wide today. That doesn't make any sense. That actually doesn't make any sense. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. If you are a fan of Colorado football and it is your team and it is the team that you follow more than any other team, step out of your echo chamber of information. Stop listening to the same things people are saying over and over and over and feeding your brain with information. And do me a favor. Take some time and go look at an offensive lineman or offensive line that plays for Kentucky, or an offensive line or linebackers that play for Texas A&M, or a kicker that whatever. Go find a team to look at their positions and compare them to what you're seeing at Colorado. Also, compare the way those coaches are calling games. Just compare the difference. Because the thing that I think needs to happen is this fan base has to start holding people accountable. This fan base cannot sit silent and not say anything. If you see something, say something. The only thing that really changes things in sports, which is kind of funny, is when the fan base can band together and agree. When the fan base is actually articulating the problem, talking about the concern, and pushing for change, that is when change happens. We cannot keep sitting back and acting like this is okay. What we're seeing is not okay. If anybody tells you anything that you saw today is okay, don't listen to those people. Colorado was down 28-0. 28-0 at halftime. What was good? What was good? We have to stop acting like, we're going to take a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here. No, that should not be the expectation. The expectation is tough, fast, discipline with character. That's the expectation. So if those 5 things are the expectation, why don't we have that expectation of our coaches? Why don't we have that expectation for execution? Why don't we have a consistent expectations to do things that 99% of all other football teams are doing? Not all football teams, 99% of them. I don't know about you, but I would rather be in the 99% and do things and have a balanced offense and try to call things that make sense than to be in the 1% that thinks that we're just going to have our offense go out and just win games because we're going to pass the ball all around the field. That's not what we're supposed to do. Why are we running a 4th down play with one of our smaller, slower running backs up the middle when the strength of the Nebraska defense is up the middle? It doesn't make sense. It actually doesn't make sense. Things I want to do with this video is I didn't want to placate. I didn't want to come up here and talk about all these fluffy things that they did right, all the fluffy things they did wrong. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. Because what I see from this team is we don't have a foundation. We don't even know who we are. We don't know who we are to the point that we always just throw out things. Travis Hunter, they didn't beat us last year. Shador Sanders, coaching staff, gold jacket, 100+ NFL experience. Our linebacker coach is this. Our Livingston did this. We made adjustments at the, like, come on. That's not it. Some people also said last week that Colorado was holding plays back. No, they weren't. They looked the exact same they did last week. So that was another lie. Stop lying to yourself to make this team look good. Stop lying to yourself. Stop listening to people lie to you. What we're seeing is not good. We have to hold them accountable. The way that you hold them accountable is you keep talking about it. Keep talking about it. I'm not here to knock anybody. I am telling you what I am seeing when I'm watching Colorado play football. And Colorado plays undisciplined, unbalanced football. That is who they are right now. And if you want to act like that's not who they are, I don't know what to tell you. Remember, Good receivers need time from their offensive line. They need their quarterback to see them, and they also have to catch the ball. All of those things have to work to have a solid wide receiver room. If you are watching me talk right now and you think that what you saw today was a solid receiver room with all those drop passes, like we saw last year, I don't know what to tell you. We have to wake up. We have to pay attention to what's going on. It is not okay to keep acting like what we're seeing is good when it's not good. If it's not good, you call it out. If it's not good, you call it out. You don't say, yeah, but last year, yeah, but no, you call it out. If it's not good, you call it out. Because holding people accountable and holding programs accountable is the only way you get better. That's it. There's no shortcut to the top. You have to be held accountable. What I want to say before I end this video is the D line is not elite. The D line that I see right now is absolutely, positively not elite. They're not much of anything right now. They are just a bunch of guys out there trying to make it work. Right now, this Colorado defensive line is not elite. The linebackers are not elite. The secondary doesn't look elite. Nothing looks elite on this team right now. And if you are convincing yourself otherwise, you are also doing yourself a disservice. So again, I will ask you, if you can, take some time and stop just watching Colorado content. Go watch other teams play. Go find another game that happened yesterday. Go compare a like team to Colorado and see what it looks like. You know what? People are ranting and raving about, Oklahoma State almost lost. Baylor's in the Big 12. Utah's in the Big 12. Kansas State's in the Big 12. People want to say Oregon's not that great. If you believe all of those things, go watch one of those teams play football. See how people in the same positions that Colorado has, go see how those people perform. Go see what they look like. Go compare other people, because what you're going to find is they're doing things differently than the way that we're doing things. Are all of those teams winning games? Not all of them, but they are balanced and they are in football games. It was 28-0 at halftime. 28-0 at halftime. That's not good. So no matter how you slice it, that's not good. So Colorado needs to figure it out. This Colorado State team, yeah, Texas put 52 points on them. Hook them, by the way. I heard Torrey Horton got hurt, but I'm going to tell you right now that they have a rookie or freshman running back who was stellar against Texas, so they can run the ball. Their offensive line is fine. They have another receiver that plays opposite of Horton that looks pretty decent. So let's not act like they're our little brother or they can't give us a tough game. That quarterback has now been in the system another year. All I'm saying is if Colorado doesn't get their crap together, it's going to continue to be a long season. This is only week 2, but we're seeing some things that we saw from last year carry over to this year and things that we've now seen for 2 consecutive games. So we need to believe what we're seeing and hope they figure it out. And we need to hold them accountable. We have to hold them accountable for the bad things that we see. We have to hold them accountable. If they do great things, great, applaud it. But don't let it be a half great thing. Don't let it be a great thing because we're getting blown out. But, oh, it's okay. We held them to 0 points. It's like, no, that's not it. Let's hold them accountable. Let's be honest with ourselves and let's hold them accountable, because the only way we're going to get better this season is if we start holding people accountable and they realize that we're not going to tolerate barely winning games or getting blown out. That is not a good place to be. I don't like it. I don't want to be there. Teams I cheer for, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see mediocrity. I want to see a disciplined football team, because right now we are everything. We are everything but disciplined. And that is extremely disappointing.